Viewers, welcome back to the third part of the first ANU series in year 2021. We already had talked about the national policies, infrastructure, the international policies. Now, this last episode of the first series of ANU in 2021, we are going to talk about corporate events, and then we'll talk a little bit about the macros, and finally, we'll talk about the trends. Coming to the corporate events, we have had a very interesting trend-setting development by a private sector company. Maruti Suzuki completes 360 apartment housing township of affordable houses for its employees in Haryana. So basically, Maruti, this is not the first time Maruti has done that. Earlier, it had launched a similar housing project in 1989 and then a second one in 1994 at Bhonsi, both in Gurugram. And unlike any other housing projects that's usually started by a private sector, the houses in the township will be completely owned and managed by the employees themselves, which means Maruti is not the owner, but the employees will own it themselves. This has been done by Maruti facilitating the employees by way of bulk land acquisition and also negotiating the cost of construction of the building, coordination with the Haryana government for approvals, monitoring the quality and execution of the professional agencies. So Maruti has played a substantial role as a facilitator, keeping the benefit of its employees' dreams and aspirations in mind, because in an Indian context, owning a house is one of the primary aspirations for any family. And so keeping that in mind, Maruti has done this phenomenal work. So the company has also provided financial support in terms of soft loans, and the employees have also availed the benefits of the government schemes under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and Deen Dayal Jan Awas Yojana. So if you actually see, doing good is just not about having money. I think doing good is more about attitude than availability of resources. So this is something that we all have to laud Maruti for being able to think from an employee's dream perspective. The second corporate event, that's something that we will have to be aware of, is that the government is, of course, in the last leg of the current fiscal disinvestment scheme. So we have already been seeing a little bit of offer for sale from various government-owned companies. Now government is planning to come up with 30% stake sale in Container Corporation of India and BEML, which is formerly Bharat Earth Movers Limited. The second corporate event, which is something that we all need to be seeing how the international trend of acquisition is heading to, is Google completes 2.1 billion acquisition of Fitbit, which means slowly the data generated out of people's physical activity or health related activity seems to be where the global conglomerates are going towards, which means the health data could become a very important business opportunity for a lot of companies. So for a company like Google, which is already dominating the industry with respect to maps, travel, searches, being able to get into the personal data of people and providing them services is a huge opportunity. And I'm sure many more companies will soon follow suit. The other interesting development from an Indian perspective is that the International Bullion Exchange at the GIFT City, which is the International Financial Services Center in Gujarat, will become operational from July 2021. This will pave the way for a large chunk of gold trading to shift from Dubai to India. Now, even though India has been traditionally a large consumer of gold, the trading has been predominantly working out of Dubai, and this has led to challenges with underground and the Hawala system network using this as a way to transfer wealth between the two countries. But with this, the gold International Bullion Exchange beginning to operate out of Gujarat, a substantial portion will shift over here. And this also will allow the possibility for a portion of the idle gold lying in the Indian households. Maybe it will come to the markets, because the sellers will be able to get a very fair price for the gold that's been idling in their closets and maybe their safe places. Another development is that we can see that the Apple shifting of the production base to India is becoming more real, and Salacomp has been able to purchase Jabil's plant, which has been idle for more than 10 years. Now, if you see, Salacomp already owns 80% of what was erstwhile Nokia SEZ. So this special economic zone was started by Nokia to actually manufacture a lot of electronic components for mobiles and accessories. And then it became dysfunctional because it had a tax dispute with the state government. And now, with this Salcomp's step to purchase this plant, the whole focus or spotlight is back to Chennai being one of the major producers for small electronic components and components which go into manufacturing a phone or a phone accessory. Apple, we all know that the iPhone 11 is manufactured by Apple in its Foxconn facility, and you also have to see it in the backdrop of the light that Tatas are setting up a huge plant in Hosur in Tamil Nadu, once again to cater to the needs of Apple's manufacturing facility locally. So we see that the shift of production from China, both with respect to de-risking and with respect to being able to capture the Indian market, is real, and it's beginning to take shape, and the government's performance linked incentives for manufacture of mobiles and accessories is really taking root. And finally, with respect to corporate events, one particular event which I don't know how many of people's attention it has caught. French oil and major Total has agreed to buy 20% minority stake in India's Adani Green Energy Limited. Now, we are also seeing a trend worldwide that companies which have been involved in energy, which is predominantly crude refining and distribution, have been slowly looking to diversify their portfolio to stay relevant in the energy industry by picking up stakes in companies which are predominantly focusing on non-renewable energies. So this is a very important trend that is developing, because if you have to be a relevant energy company, the days of crude and refining definitely seems to be going downhill, and we are seeing a very credible trend of people taking up to renewable energies, both from a production aspect as well as with respect to consumption aspect. We are seeing that the private vehicle market is slowly turning electric with the advent of Tesla. The next, we are going to talk about the macros. So in the macros, what we are seeing is that the India's current account surplus was 31.6 billion in the second quarter of the financial year 2021. So this has predominantly happened because of increased foreign portfolio investments to the tune of 24.6 billion and decreased trade deficit. So the merchandise trade deficit has decreased, and obviously when the economy shrink, both the import and export was shrinking, and that provided some cushion. Whereas the services receipt has increased. So a combination of service receipt increase, shrinking in the merchandise trade deficit, and an increased FPI has ensured that we are having the current account surplus. The second thing that has, which is a very, very important trend, is that the commercial vehicle December dispatches have increased by 20-25%. Now, we don't know whether it's once again because of the pent-up demand or people's preference to build up private modes of transport, shunning the public transport, but this has been a trend. And even here in the commercial vehicles, we are only seeing that the lower, not the heavy commercial vehicle, but the light commercial vehicle market is what has grown, which means the economic recovery has still not been broad-based. So the light commercial vehicles once again are used for short distance travel, whereas the heavy duty and heavy commercial vehicles have really not taken off. The third important indicator, which is very important, is that the daily average e-way bill generation has recovered when compared to November. So there we are seeing a distinct improvement in the daily average e-way bills which are being printed, and we are also seeing that the Q3 capex, the capacity expenditure by the central public sector enterprises, the Q3 capex is almost equivalent to the capex of both the Q1 and Q2 put together, which means the central public sector enterprises have really stepped up their capital spending expenditure. which is good because the capital creation was actually almost zero in the private sector. We are seeing some green shoots of certain companies like Ultratech and other companies announcing capacity expansion. But the central public sector enterprises have really been stepping up the pedal, and that's good for the country. Finally, on the macros, a very important trend and signal has been announced by RBI. We have been seeing that the RBI has been doing a lot of talking. It has been talking about its discomfort with the surplus liquidity. It has been saying that the stock market price valuations are not in sync with the economic recovery. Obviously, it's not saying it, but it's not too comfortable with the foreign portfolio investments coming up in such a large quantity, because the RBI then has a responsibility to hold the rupee price, which means it has to buy the dollars, and each time it buys dollars, it's releasing an equal amount of rupee into the system, and therefore then it brings an inflationary pressure. But taking a cue, RBI has now stepped out of that comfort zone, and it has very clearly indicated by increasing. Just a couple of days back, a 364-day treasury bill was sold at a yield of 3.579% compared to 3.4681% in the last auction. So this has to be seen in the backdrop of the repo reverse rate being at 3.35%. So already there's a substantial amount of surplus that banks have been holding, which have been parked with RBI and reverse repo rate. And RBI, without having to do anything, would still have got a lot of money at 3.35%. But RBI has come out and made a policy statement, and it has increase the yield of the T-bills, which means it's very clearly indicating that the lower end of the short-term interest rates, it wants the short-term interest rates to harden, both for sucking up the surplus liquidity. So the quantitative easing approach that many of the countries and even India had taken up. So I think it's time that the RBI is beginning to absorb the excess liquidity in the system, and it is doing so. And it very clearly shows that the lower end of the yield will harden, and this is once again confirmed by the SBI, State Bank of India, increasing its deposit rates by 5 to 10%. So we will continue with the trend segment, and in the trends, what we are seeing is that the toll collection through FASTag has increased by 201 crores over the previous month. This is not only due to increased transport activity that's happening in the national highways. It's also because the deadline to have pay in tolls through FASTag is coming near. The telecom sector's active subscriber base has increased by 25 lakh subscribers in October 2020. The very interesting development that has also a trend that has also evolved is the public sector bank deposits have grown, which means public confidence on private sector banks for deposits have come down, whereas the private sector banks have grown in credit, which means to borrow they are going to private sector, to deposit their money they are coming to public sector. The banks have started using cash flow as a tool to extend loans to companies instead of using rating. So that's a new deviation from the established practice of using rating for loan disbursals. Instead of that, they have started seeing the cash flows more keenly before disbursing the loans. The insurance companies have started using CIBIL rating for issuing life insurance policies instead of depending only on the income proof. The pace of adoption of UPI in India has surpassed that of China's third-party payment as a percentage of GDP. So these are some very interesting trends that are developing in the country and the world over. And a very important trend that has developed world over is that the Abu Dhabi government has very clearly expressed its desire to convert this petroleum-rich empire into an exporter of blue and green hydrogen. So ADNOC, which is Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, formed an alliance with Mubadala Investment and ADQ to produce hydrogen from natural gas and renewable energies. It also intends to market this fuel overseas as well as United Arab Emirates. So it has got in partnership with Siemens, which is already building a hydrogen demonstration plant in a solar park in the neighboring emirate of Dubai. So what you have to see is that the countries which are in the Middle East are blessed with abundant of sun because they are predominantly deserts, and they are using the energy produced through the solar cells to either convert split water atoms to and become a very strong hydrogen supply economy or country, and this is in staying ahead of the curve of the crude replacing the preferred fuel world over. So there is a strong feeling that there is an alternate lobby to the EV, which feels that the hydrogen used in the hybrid cell systems for using passenger vehicle will take a leadership role over EV, because Saudi Arabia has also come out and very strongly expressed its intent to become the largest shipper of hydrogen. So what we are seeing, what we are going to see something unroll a future in the world is there's going to be a strong fight between vehicles using EVs, that's electric vehicles, versus vehicles using hydrogen hybrid cells technology. So one of the advantages of hydrogen hybrid technology will be that it will provide continuity to the entire ecosystems, that the major car manufacturers, the fuel pumps, and the spare business will more or less stay intact. So we'll have to wait and see which technology wins ultimately, but the fight is going to get real, and the oil producing countries are definitely focusing on staying relevant by investing themselves to be a supplier of blue and green hydrogen. Viewers, thank you so much for staying connected. I hope that you all enjoyed the information that we have been able to share with you through this NU series. Thank you so much for your encouragement and the wonderful comments that we keep receiving. Stay healthy, stay happy, and wish you all a very happy 2021. Thank you.